Lately, I've been thinking a lot about trying to streamline my routines more, trying to cut out the noise, trying to eliminate things that do more to disrupt peace in my life than they do to contribute value. And I was just watching a video somebody had made about walking in video games. And the guy made a point to talk about how it's more immersive, it's more peaceful, and it can be a really useful tool for decompressing. To load up your favorite game of choice and just choose to walk. Don't run, don't fast travel. Just be present in the environment. And in life, it's that way too. I think about all of the time I spent before commuting to work, going there, or commuting to somewhere that was supposed to be fun, just always going somewhere, always on the road, always trying to get from one place to another as quickly as possible. And now I think about my life, and usually I'll spend some time walking around my neighborhood, just taking in the same familiar sights all the time. I don't really do a lot of really interesting things. My life is usually pretty simple and mundane. But I also get to see the beauty of the world around me. And it's the same thing in gaming. I realize as time goes on, I don't need to play hundreds of different games. I am fine just picking a half dozen, and those are the games that I'm probably going to boot up and play. They're kind of like a second home. They're that place I can go to decompress, to reflect. And I play games and life about the same way these days. Not with any particular objective, not with any sense that I need to do something in order to be complete. And I think that's one of the problems with a lot of RPGs. There's so many of them. If you haven't played all of them, you can easily get overwhelmed. Really, any genre. If you think about all the games out there, there's tons and tons and tons of them. There's always something new. There's always another game coming out. And that's great if it's going from one to something better. But quite often, it's just a variation on something that's already existed before. How many different RPGs do you need to play, which involve wandering around an open world, engaging in various quests, crafting, gathering, maybe selling some materials on the marketplace? Couldn't you just pick one and be immersed in it? Isn't it better to have fewer things? And how often have we become the victim of that urge to always overwhelm us with something that demands our attention, something which wants us to stop what we're doing and go look at it, something that wants us to weigh in on things that don't concern us with our opinion, or hear the opinion of someone else. It's information and distraction and notification overload. I was just tinkering around with Windows settings on my computer because I realized that every time I hit the record button to make a video, Windows wants to make a chime sound, a little ding to let me know recording has started. And the ding actually is obnoxious. I didn't want to hear it. I know that I'm recording a video because I hit the record button. But there's always more videos to watch, more notifications coming up to let you know what's going on. I bought a Xbox controller earlier because the one I was using was wired, it wasn't wireless, and it also was starting to have a trigger that was a little bit squeaky, so I wanted a new one. So I got it, and I get it out of the box, and you know what's in there? There's this enormous sheet of paper that has some kind of instructions about how to use it and safety warnings and stuff like that written in a bunch of different languages. And then I got a little stand that I can use to put a book on so that I can read it while I'm doing other things, and it'll hold the pages open. That's great. But then you take it out, and there's a pamphlet in there that says join our community. Yeah, so I can go online and I can join, I guess, some sort of a community for customers who've bought things from this furniture company. I don't really care. But that's the point. There's always something there. Whether we care about it or we don't, there's going to be more and more random things calling for our attention. Ads in our faces, notifications for things we didn't need to be notified about, new games that promise new immersive environments when we haven't actually even had a chance to fully explore the environments in the games that are already installed on our computers. And I'm reminded of something that Marcus Aurelius said. He said that you should consider yourself to be dead, to have completed life up to this present time, and live according to nature, the remainder which is allowed you. In other words, what he's saying is every day should be bookended as complete. What we need is the opportunity to say, I had a good life. My life is good. My life was good. And I don't need anything else in order to make my life more complete. But that's not really how our world works. The minute you click on something, it's going to open up a dialogue that segues you into a bunch of other things. And you're never going to have a chance to really be immersed in any one thing fully. You're never going to be able to say, I enjoy the experience I'm having right now, because there's always going to be something else. A carrot held out in front of you to make you think life would be even better if I had that new thing. I would be more well informed if I just scrolled a little bit more. I would be more entertained if I watched just a few more things. These days, there's so much AI slop all over the place. I've been going through my YouTube feed, and if I see a video and it's got some kind of a thumbnail or content that is clearly AI generated, I unsubscribe from the channel if I was subscribed to it, and I make a point to mark not interested and indicate to the algorithm to never recommend that channel again. Any AI content, I will just mark not interested, unsubscribe, do not recommend. Anything to do with politics, anything to do with things which are more toxic and non-edifying, if you will, I don't need it. It's not hard for me to get the news. It's not hard for me to know what's going on to the point where I'm informed enough without consuming a lot of random clickbait type content that just takes up my time adds a sense of worry or frustration, or just perpetuates a passive interest in things that don't actually make my life any better. I've been thinking about paying for the subscription to the print edition and the digital edition of The Economist magazine, because it's a good news source that's well informed, well written, that's of literary value, instead of the kind of things where you go to Google News, you scroll through articles you probably already have seen. It's a bottomless news feed, and then you wind up clicking on something and you get another ad for a newspaper that wants you to pay for it, and you wind up spending hours of your day doing things that probably should only take minutes, and then it winds up being some sort of a product that's not even very well informed or well written. There's so much garbage in the world right now, but it all wants our attention, that we need to consume more of it, that we have to drink up all of the water in the ocean in order to be able to say that we have been fully satisfied. But you can never drink up all the water in the ocean. So I play just a few games. I do just a few things. I make a point to cut out as much of the noise as I possibly can. Now, I will say that there's a lesson in moderation to be spoken of here. When I say, for example, I'm going to cut back on my consumption of social media, well, what happens when you realize you do need some of those things, right? Like sometimes you just go Google something because you want to know. Sometimes you're going to go check the news headlines just because you needed to know what was going on. Maybe you were going to try to use that information to make an informed investment choice or something like that. I can talk about the virtues of walking away from a lot of social media online, and I have, and completely got rid of my Facebook accounts and some of those things. But then there are a few things like Reddit, for example. Can Reddit be a toxic place? Absolutely. Can it be something that's an addictive thing where you wind up scrolling through too much content and you're not, you're just allowing it to be a distraction instead of a tool? Yes, absolutely. And sometimes it's not about completely cutting something off. It's not about saying, here's a list of half a dozen games I'm going to play and I'm never going to play anything else. It's not about saying I got rid of all social media and now I'm going to never be on a social media platform ever again in my life. It's not about saying I'm never going to read the news or I'm never going to ever allow myself to be exposed to anything that's negative, because life is kind of a shade of gray, right? There's all sorts of nuance to life. So if you try to follow a specific rigid set of rules for every situation, at some point you get to a place where the rules just don't really work, because you can't have one rule that you apply to every single circumstance as a one size fits all. But you certainly can be more aware of these things. And so I start trying to make myself really be very cognizant of what am I doing with my time. If I want to go make a post on Reddit or read a few subreddits that I think are interesting, I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. But could I do that just once a day and then be done with it? Same thing with the news. It's okay to catch up on world events. Sometimes it's important to know what's going on in the world. But could I spend 10 minutes doing that instead of 2 hours? Can I use it as a tool to educate myself instead of an opportunity to be entertained by things which are not edifying? Can I follow up on new games that come out and be interested in them? Well, sure, I can. But does that mean that I need to add every new game to my library every single time I see something that kind of catches my attention and I think it's cool? Not really. It's okay to let some water flow under the bridge. And that doesn't mean that we're not going to waste some time. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be a lot of room for interpretation in that. Because if I said, well, don't ever waste your time anymore, and then you decided you're going to be extremely granular about it and, measure every single minute of your life, well, that's missing the entire point. But every day should be complete. We shouldn't have a sense that we need to do something new in order to accomplish what our purpose in life is. And when you get to the point where you can say your life is complete, whether you get your way or you don't get your way, whether things are perfect or they're not, that's when you have peace. It doesn't mean that you don't have objectives. It doesn't mean there's not things that you're trying to do, or it doesn't mean that you don't act intentionally. But when you stop chasing things, that's when you're going to be able to start to truly have a good life. And whether you're talking about what games to play or what kind of things to fill your day and your mind with, in a world filled with information overload and so much choice that we feel like we never could possibly have enough time in our lives to do all of the things that supposedly need to be done if we're going to have a rich and full life, sometimes it's important just to step back, to cut out a lot of noise, to start unsubscribing to things that are not edifying, to stop watching things like news and socially contentious topics, to just immerse yourself in being present in this moment, to say today is good as it is, today is good enough, I am good enough, and even if I never live another day in my life, today was a good day. Start taking things slower, and don't focus on adding more content as much as you focus on learning to truly appreciate the content that remains in your life. We should always be at peace. And I think anything that tries to say that we can find more peace or more fun or more success if we can do something down the road and around the corner, those are the things that we want to let go of. Even if it's just quests in an RPG and you have that sense that, if I can just get through a playthrough of these AAA games that I have on the bucket list, then I'll be happy because I will be able to say that I did this stuff. Well, you're missing the point again if that's how you look at life, that you have to do all of these things. And then you're always going to be just a few games, a few quests, a few objectives, a few more things on your Amazon wish list, a few more career steps, whatever it might be. A few more things away from happiness, and you'll spend your whole life being a few more things away. And then you'll never feel like you have time to really just be present and enjoy the experience you have, because you always think, well, there's more content out there that I haven't done, and I really should hurry up and get through the content I'm going through right now so that I can get to the better content that's going to be coming out soon. And then we just get so frustrated, so overwhelmed. But life is meant to be more like a walk in the park. No objectives. Just appreciating the environment, appreciating the moment, and accepting life exactly as it is. As always, good luck on your adventure. Till next time, thanks so much for watching.